How to balance your hormone is a commonly asked question by all the women who come to me for personal consultation. Shikha, please help me balance my hormones. Now, I want to tell you that hormones is a very wide topic in itself. When you say hormones, we women almost have 50 plus hormones in us. So when you say I want to balance my hormones, we have to understand which are the hormones which are most affected. So in today's video, I'm going to specifically focus on the 7 crucial hormones that women needs to balance to fix their health. So let's deep dive into it. Let us see what is the role of these hormones. It regulates metabolism, reproductive health, sleep and wake cycle, mood, growth and development. Hormones acts like traffic signal that helps in running all the body functions smoothly. Let's talk about these specific hormones. So what are we going to focus on is the estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, thyroid, cortisol, insulin and prolactin. Did you know that all of these hormones work in synergy? That means it works in a proper harmony and it affects one after the other. Just like this, what you see. So if your cortisol is affected, it is going to increase your insulin. It will eventually increase the male hormone, that is the testosterone, eventually, sometimes even DHEAS. This will also impact your prolactin. When the prolactin is going to be high, it is going to slow down the thyroid function. It will reduce the progesterone that will affect your period cycle. It can lead to estrogen dominance. So everything in total, what you see here, can affect one after the other. Did you see how all the hormones work in synchronization, and if one is getting affected, the other automatically gets affected? So if you really want to work on your hormones, we have to first understand which is that one specific hormone that is affected the most, and if you start working on that, it will start improving the others automatically. So let's understand these hormones one by one. Let's talk about the estrogen hormone, a very important hormone for us women because it gives us the feminine feature. So let us see what is the primary role of estrogen. First, it develops the breast and it widens the hips and pubic hair in women. It maintains the vaginal lining thickness. It stimulates the follicular production. It regulates the menstrual cycle and it helps in the growth and maturation of the bones. Now, commonly seen hormonal imbalance in women is high estrogen. Now, estrogen is very important for women, but if it becomes way too high, it can give us a lot of hormonal imbalance issues, which I will talk about later. But what is the primary cause of increasing this estrogen is because of the plastic overload, use of this, especially in contact with food. So the BPA exposure, the toxic overload, because of even cosmetics that we use which are toxic in nature, unless you're using something which is organic and not really toxic. Constipation is also one of the primary reasons for high estrogen because it increases the reabsorption of the estrogen back into the blood, making it much more stronger and increases in the levels. Then comes the use of oral contraceptive pills if taken for a longer time, and also using the cleaning agents on the regular basis. What are the symptoms that are generally seen with high estrogen? So a woman can see heavy and irregular periods because of this. So if you're getting clotting, this can be one of the reasons. Migraine, especially when you're getting it before the periods. If you have breast tenderness and pain before the periods or even during the ovulation time. If you see more hips and thighs weight, that is like a pear-shaped body, then this is also a primary reason. PMS and PMDD. High estrogen also leads to hypothyroidism. This also, constipation can further increase because of estrogen. One can get very heavy periods and painful periods. Fibroid and endometriosis is also linked with high estrogen. One can also experience mid-cycle pain, especially during the ovulation, what I mean to say is what is experienced in women, and also brain fog. Ones who have low estrogen, this is also commonly seen in perimenopausal and menopausal women. So this can be a symptom of low estrogen. So because the estrogen is going to be low, there is going to be absence of periods or infrequent periods. There can be low libido. Vaginal dryness and painful sex can be another symptom. Hot flashes and night sweats can be one thing, and cognitive function can get affected too. Now let's talk about progesterone. Now, estrogen and progesterone works in the opposite way from each other, and both of them are responsible to maintain a healthy period cycle. But whenever the estrogen dominance is there, that is the high estrogen, it will not allow the progesterone rise, just like what you see as a seesaw here. So if the estrogen is going to be high, the progesterone rise will not really happen, and this can lead to imbalance in their period cycle. What is the role of progesterone? So it helps in thickening the lining of the uterus to maintain a healthy pregnancy. It regulates your mood, behavior and cognitive function. It aids in preserving the pregnancy. It maintains the fat tissues in the body, and it promotes hunger. What is commonly seen in women is the low progesterone issues, and what is the primary cause of that? It is mainly the stress levels because of high cortisol levels. It is because of the estrogen dominance that I spoke of. It can be thyroid dysfunction also. It can be the regular intake of oral contraceptive pills or any hormones. It can also be because of high prolactin levels. What are the symptoms of low progesterone? It's going to be very similar to the estrogen dominance, but a few symptoms can be a little different, and what you see is difficulty in getting and staying pregnant. Spotting is a very classic symptom. So whenever you're going to get your periods, you will see spotting in the first day or the second day, and then eventually get the heavy period. So like a breakthrough bleeding. Menstrual migraines, irregular periods, anxiety and insomnia, especially during the luteal phase, is also commonly seen. Now let's talk about the thyroid hormone. Now thyroid plays a very important role in regulating the ovulation, fertility and healthy menstrual cycle. It regulates the metabolism, so it keeps the weight in check. It also regulates the body temperature, which is very important for pregnancy. It also helps in brain development and regulates digestion and heart rate. The commonly seen imbalance in thyroid is hypothyroidism. In fact, a lot of people are not even diagnosed correctly in the conventional medicine if they have thyroid or not, whereas in functional medicine we can analyze the thyroid in much advanced level and understand if somebody has thyroid or subclinical thyroid also, which can be a beginning stage of getting a full-fledged hypothyroidism. So what are the primary causes of hypothyroidism or getting the subclinical hypothyroidism? Is high stress levels or high cortisol levels. It is the estrogen dominance, very commonly seen, and 90% people get autoimmune thyroid, which is known as Hashimoto thyroiditis, in which your antibody levels will show as very high. It can be because of high prolactin levels also. It can also be because of the poor detoxification process, because of the fatty liver, gut dysbiosis, toxic overload, any sort of allergies like mold allergy, infections, or sometimes gallbladder removal also. What are the commonly seen symptoms of hypothyroidism is very similar to estrogen dominance, like getting heavy periods, clot during the periods and irregular periods, weight gain, dry skin and dry hair, brittle nails, thinning of hair and constipation. What are the commonly seen symptoms in hyperthyroidism is just the opposite of hypothyroidism, that is like scanty periods. They will see excessive weight loss, diarrhea, heat intolerance, sweating, anxiety and rapid heart rate. Next hormone is cortisol hormone, which is commonly also known as stress hormone. So what is the role of cortisol? So whenever the cortisol is healthy, it will rise in the morning time and it will drop by the evening time, so that it can regulate the sleep cycle. So it is very important for the circadian rhythm. It also helps us to regulate the blood sugar levels. It also regulates the blood pressure and reduces the inflammation. It also keeps our energy very high, especially during the morning times. Primarily what is seen is the high cortisol levels in women, and that is because of the persistent stress. Now when there is persistent stress, it can make the adrenal, that is the adrenal gland which produces the cortisol, it can become really fatigued and tired of producing so much cortisol because of persistent stress. That can eventually lead to less production of cortisol, which is like an extreme stress condition. So persistent stress is one of the main reasons of high cortisol and eventually low cortisol. Extreme dieting, low calorie diet, keto diet, anything which is fat diet can also lead to this kind of a problem, because body takes it as a stress in itself. Extreme workouts, which is too much for the body to take in, any loss of somebody who you love the most, any sort of trauma, any accident, any relationship issues, surgeries, infections and the use of heavy antibiotics or any steroids can also lead to this kind of a condition. Now what are the symptoms of high cortisol? One will obviously feel, because of stress, tired and wired. It can also increase the blood sugar levels, and when it remains persistently high, it can lead to insulin resistance and eventually diabetes. It will lead to infrequent periods because it reduces the progesterone. It increases the prolactin levels, which can lead to irregular periods again, and it will give fertility issues. Anxiety is also very commonly seen in high cortisol patients. And eventually, when you get low cortisol, the symptoms can become extreme. There can be a difficulty in waking up in the morning. One can have low blood pressure, will feel not able to tolerate stress at all, and when they get up from their bed or while they're sitting, they can feel dizziness and they can cry for no reason. Now let's talk about insulin. Now, as we all know, insulin plays a very important role in regulating the blood glucose levels, but very less people know that it also helps us to take up the potassium and excrete the sodium out of our body that maintains a healthy blood pressure as well. The commonly seen thing is diabetes in people in today's time, but very less people know this fact that the first step of getting diabetes is actually insulin resistance. So the primary cause of insulin resistance is commonly seen because of high cortisol levels, that is because of persistent stress, poor lifestyle, eating too much carbs and not working out at all. Sometimes it is genetics. The PCOS, trauma, loss of loved ones, relationship issues can lead to persistent stress and give you insulin resistance. What are the symptoms of insulin resistance? It's sugar cravings, feeling hungry always, especially after eating meals also, having weight gain issues, not able to lose weight, skin pigmentation, especially around the neck or underarms, feeling extremely fatigued, wired and tired and sleepy after having any meal, and ovulation, no ovulation, irregular periods, especially because of the PCOS, missing periods, infertility, PMS, high androgens like facial hair, male type baldness, which is commonly seen in women in today's time. Now let's talk about testosterone. Now this is a male dominant hormone, but it is also found in smaller quantities in women, which is very, very important for our hormonal function. Now let us talk about testosterone hormone, which is a male dominant hormone, but it is also found in smaller quantities in women. So what is the role of testosterone in women? It protects the bone health. It helps us to maintain healthy muscle mass. It increases the libido and sex drive. It boosts the immunity. It boosts the mood and confidence in women. Now, what is the commonly seen imbalance in women is the high testosterone. When the testosterone is too much, it's because of the insulin resistance primarily. So whenever there is insulin resistance, it can make the ovaries more bulky and produce more androgens, which is the testosterone. So PCOS, high stress and high cortisol levels, and the genetics. So what are the symptoms of testosterone? Very similar to what we see in men, the features of men, that is like the facial hair. They can see male type baldness, so hair fall and thinning of hair, especially in the crown area, irregular periods because the testosterone is high. It's going to behave like men, so no menses, sometimes irregular periods, lot of acne and oily skin, infertility issues, dysregulated blood sugars. When the testosterone is way too much, it can lead to low sex drive, loss of muscle mass, hot flashes, vaginal dryness, depression and joint pain as well. Now let us talk about the last hormone, prolactin, which is commonly imbalanced in women and remains undiagnosed. So what is the role of prolactin? So it initiates and maintains the milk production in especially the pregnant and the lactating mothers. It helps in the production of other hormones. It plays a very important role in regulating the stress response and immune system. Now, commonly seen is the high prolactin level, especially in the non-pregnant and the non-lactating women, which is not really a normal thing. So, why this happens is primarily either because of high cortisol levels, too much stress. It can be pituitary malfunction or because of certain medications. Now, what are the signs of high prolactin levels? So, what women will see is irregular periods or sometimes absence of periods because the body is feeling that you are actually pregnant. So, it is going to behave as if you are already pregnant. So, it will not lead to regulating your periods. It can give sometimes milk discharge in non-pregnant and non-lactating women. There can be difficulty in losing weight because, like I said, your body is pretending that you are already pregnant, so it will not allow you to lose weight easily. There can be painful sex. There can be thyroid dysfunction because of high prolactin levels, and sometimes it is also because of the pituitary malfunction. So this is how all the hormones work in synchronization. One affects the other. So in functional medicine, if somebody is coming up with lots of symptoms of hormonal imbalance, we will check all the parameters to understand what is the root cause of that, and based on something which is giving us the broader picture of one particular hormone, we start working on that, and then eventually it will start improving the other. Like for example, if somebody has high prolactin levels, high insulin levels, thyroid issues, then primarily I might start working on the prolactin levels, which will eventually improve the thyroid function, and take care of the diet that will improve the insulin resistance as well. So in together, when I work, it will start creating a proper balance of hormones in this women. So did you see the complexities of the hormones? One affects the other. So understanding which hormone is affected majorly is what we work on and give the line of treatment. So here is the way to actually balance your hormones. So let us see that. How to improve hormonal imbalance? First, reduce the environmental toxins exposure. So use less of plastic as much as you can. Try and avoid cosmetic use and use better products which are organic and toxic free. Start using iron vessels, earthen vessels, and avoid using aluminum or something which is like a plastic container. Start working on the stress management techniques to reduce the cortisol levels, because that is one of the major triggers of most of the health issues. So work on meditation, gratitude, journaling. Start with anti-inflammatory foods which are omega-3 rich, like almonds, walnuts, olives, and reduce the intake of inflammatory foods like dairy and gluten, and have more foods which are organically produced, and support it with the supplementation to boost the faster recovery. Work on the primary hormone itself to improve the overall hormonal balance, like I already mentioned before. And start avoiding as much as you can with doctor's consultation as a replacement of anything which is birth control pills, or probably you can consult a functional medicine practitioner to give you an alternative for that, and less use of antibiotics or steroid as much as you can, and try and use functional medicine as a replacement. So this is all for today. If you have any questions regarding hormonal imbalance, please write it in the comments, and I will see you in the next video about more health and nutrition.